So we gave you a little bit of idea on what's happening. That's really a bright light, Roxy. An idea of what's happening, pardon the noise for a second, of the results of the interactions of the weekend, understanding the vibration. Nicole told us of an incident, and that's why I want to pop in and reiterate it with you. There was like they were at the idea of the pool, and immediately there was a mother that walked in up at the pool with a baby in her hand, and they wanted to know. Mark goes, "Oh, what's the baby's name?" to Nicole, and Nicole said Ali, and it was Allah or something, Ali or something. It was very, very close, and they both knew it pretty immediately. But Mark said, no, that's not it, and actually got the right name and the age. Prism. Okay, that's candy filled. We know. But it shows you what's happening. Okay? So the big thing here is you're going to have to accept something. You're going to have to accept the truth of it. That it is that. That you're right. Like Tammy asked a vibration earlier in the class. She wanted to know, is that the truth? Well, fuck, I can't tell you that. You got to have to start choosing whatever it is. You have to choose to know. And if the knowing of that truth that you have just now chosen becomes something of lackluster, then you know it was a stepping stone to the more of the isness of you. Simple. Don't make it an event. Don't make it of something to stop and ponder and focus on it in the objective way of solutions. And then you're just back to the same old self. So what occurs is the isness flowing, is the prism speaking, is vibrations apparency, quasi-mind coming online. We have a teacher that's coming in a minute. That'll teach you more of the logistics of it, we should say. But understand that. So let me predicate the idea of class with this notion that the prism is alive. If you guys spend time pondering what's wrong with your life, stop. If you spend time pondering if you're making the right decision, stop. I can't make you. Only can offer you. And if you sit there and fucking justify your arrogant fucking asshole again, stop. Stop talking about yourself. Stop justifying what you are. Stop trying to figure out what's right and wrong for you. And then you get to see God. And it's becoming so apparent because you guys are not feeding the distortion. You're allowing creation in such mannerisms of actions with truth in the now. The result will be connection. Vibrational connection running amok. Thoughts, feelings, motions, movement, anything you can't handle? Of course not. Everything, because it's you. It's your natural state of being. Just hold on, breathe into it, relax, enjoy the ride. Let the quasi-mind start to shake off its fucking dust. Okay? You haven't used it in that idea. Etherical thing of shaking it up. It's coming back into the wholeness. Listen, you have to have a quasi-mind. You understand this idea. You have to have this idea. Your mind is an interpreter of vibration. It's a signal receiver. It's a translator. It's a television set. It's a radio. Whatever you want to perceive your physical mind to be, that's what your quasi-mind is, except your quasi-mind does it on a galactic, a universal, a creative level. That's your quasi-isness, your wholeness. Hey, Michael did make it in. Hey, Michael, since Sonny doesn't know how you are, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Good. Yeah, we were thinking that. Excellent. All right.
Thanks for waiting for me.
Oh, yes. No doubt. All right. So you understand, before the teacher comes in and teach you about the idea of the quasi-mind, predicate yourself with this idea circumferencing wisdom that we have just offered. Your physical mind is equal to that of the quasi-mind. The quasi-mind and the physical mind are the only difference in the apparency, the physical matter. but the physical mind that you have from the standpoint of deploying what you call your logical self of separation only limits the physical mind to exactly what it is. It listens to your vibration. It's a result of your, let's say, dictatorship. That's why people are smarter than others. It's because at one certain point they don't deploy the defenses against themselves in interpretation, lacking the mind's ability. The mind is connected. That's why the idea of the mathematicians just start doing math and they've never learned. Out of the idea of 1 + 1, they can extrapolate formulas of binary codes beyond your idea of universal sanctum. They can do that because they're not relying. So it's the illusionary self that gives it the physical mind as a receptor, and it is. But so is your quasi-mind. Your quasi-mind's the same thing. It takes frequency of vibration and translates it and gives the conscious self of awareness, the conscious self that you are in exploratory ideas, the ability to interpret the reality that you have thrust yourself upon. True that. All right, you guys ready? Let's bring the next cat in. Yeah, that's a good term, Roxy. That's a cool cat. All right, stand by. Do you need your eyes? Yes. And greetings to the classroom. I shall teach. Are you guys acceptable with the word teacher?
Yes.
Thank you. Because you are a teacher, Shagufta. We understand. Teacher's not a bad idea. You just allow people to teach themselves. Quasi-mind, okay? Vibration. And the idea, I'm going to draw a little picture here, okay? Imagine yourself having 2 posts. Oh, you have markers. Thank you. You are most convenient, Miss Roxy. Yes, you are. These stiffies right here, the black ones with these little angles, I want you to understand those are your antennae. They're natural. And then you have a frequency between the 2 antennae. This is your quasi-mind. That's how simple it is. It only needs to focus on the now. It doesn't need to know all frequencies and all now. Where it starts to interpretate in the perfectum that it is, because it knows all, as you do, in the now, not in another now, not in another now, not in another now, only in the now that you are now. That's all there is. So in this now, it has the ability to translate right here, a frequency that will connect to this. This is you. It's the wholeness of you. It leads the idea of all interpretations, of all vibrations, and all the sanctums of all the compressed idea, billions and billions of nows on top of each other, all the densities and pressurized worlds that you consider the validation of an experience, it knows translation of. When? In the now. Because it itself, the quasi-mind, is learning. Yes, as you are learning, but it does not know itself in learnability the way you guys have chose to learn. Study, remember, regurgitate. Yay! But you're not any smarter. In fact, you're more robotic. If I repeat enough the right way, I'll get a cookie. Yay. See, it does it because it is that. Now, I want you to stop and listen to that again. It does that. Translates realities, no matter where it is in any particular now. It's your translator in your now, so therefore it knows all of your nows in translation. It does that because it is that. Whatever gods create as the isness of that, it is that. It doesn't have to become that. It is that. It doesn't have to learn how to do that. It is that. So as it's moving through the now, it learns how to translate more efficiently in your terms of evolution. Yes. And we're talking humanity here. Okay? So let's look at the point not from the whole, but from the human perspective that you are. So this mind right here is a translator. You guys decorated with memory and you put this over here and this over here. It's whoever just decided that's where it's going to go. Enough people believe it. Proof that happens. Okay, great. But that's not the idea. Okay? It's this. This is it. This. Two like idea rods. A positive and a negative, if you want to put it that way. But of course, it doesn't certainly need to be that way. It is that idea. And in between, and that is a world. That is life. That is smells. That is tastes. This little signature, that signature right there, that scribble. These are solid, like posts. This little friction, this little frequency is all the planetary systems you've ever understood. Right there. Now, as soon as whatever you put your mind on, that's what it changes into. And it keeps giving you your interpretation. Except this time, if I give you Pluto, you go to the memory bank and you bring it up and translate it as that. And here's what else is in that idea frequency. The blending of the two. Because you are two minds becoming one mind. So you get a little bit of Pluto as what you've learned on Earth as that idea. But if you were a Plutonian and you would stop thinking of what Pluto, this vibration becomes more. Hence the quasi mind, not the earthbound mind. Because the earthbound mind relies on the self of regurgitation, the self of repetition. To lead a mind into understanding itself, to be a teacher, is to be an offerer. You have to show and help them choose their way and let them discover. Correction is the worst thing you could do. There's never a wrong. Just because your arrogant ass is looking for the correct answer and you take your standard and rub it up against an idea, that, of course, is your point of view as opposed to another's. And both are right. But of course, your separated mind is sometimes being a teacher would say that they're wrong. Well, that is most certainly containment in a field of measurement. That the mind you have relied on seeks the past as a valid fact and becomes that isness and speaks it and measures it and uses it against the idea of humans for comparison, blah, blah, blah. So that's what the mind does. But you have the quasi-mind. That's where you get the other part of the picture. That's where you get the intuition self. That's like Mr. Brent Harpy giving a toast to the newlyweds. His toast started off a little rough because he was thinking, but then he stopped and started to live. And then it became beautiful. It was priceless. So he used his quasi-mind to orchestrate the perfect words of his idea experience of an unconditional moment and put it on a palette that all would enjoy to feast upon. It was beautiful, truly. So you can see how the mind works if you're in observation. People fight, people try to discuss and justify, people try to explain their point of view. Truly, they over-explain it most of the time. And that idea is what you do. But see, in accessible, in the same now rather, is an accessible frequency. Because all frequencies are not contained. All frequencies are accessible. So that means between the frequency, yes, between the frequency, I'm going to show you something. Okay, you have three frequencies of information. This is the Galactian, let's say, Portal 5, everything about Portal 5. This is the Andromedan system, and this is your solar system. So all of these ideas are contained in themselves an isness of what it's been, if you will. You don't know all of it, but you know this about it because that's what you can translate about it. You bring your mind into this, and that's what it is. But this is telling you so much more than what you think. And when you allow this idea, frequency has access to the same idea within your galactic field range, a bridge to the Andromedan idea system. And you can connect to that. It can go in any direction, but this is most palatable for you to see in, let's say, human direction, a vertical in this particular case. So, and then over here, you can go to the portal that exists in the Andromedan idea solar system, portal 5, in this idea quadrant of this galactic, so let's say central sun universe, galaxy truly, but you can say universum. So you understand that this can tell you everything about this because these two are within proxy of each other, are co-creators of each other. They're not so dimensionally far away in idea compressed, let's say, sandwiched idea densities on top of each other. They are not distant, but in the illusionary idea that we love to play with because we do space travel. We go from A to B. We do have space, yes. We do have this idea of movement, placement, because, you know, there's no space, so we can't run out of it. We just create it as much as we want. So what I'm saying in that idea is that you get an input, call it an orange. You say the orange is A, B, or C. Whatever your vibrational reliance of your logical self reaches into the past with the experience of your orange interactions, being a color, being a fruit, and those idea combinations become an idea, an interpretation. But the resonation of that interpretation speaks of vibratory quality of life, a relationship to it that would give you a vibrational truth. Lack. It's not full because mixed into the frequency of you just thinking about an orange, it's not all of it. That's why you go most of the time, most of you, oh, it's just a fucking orange. Big deal. But the orange has volumes to speak. It has a life. It's growth. It breathes. It is where? It's communicating. It's connecting. It's a frequency. And you're only listening to what you think it is. That's the reliability and being, let's say, reliability on the moment, that interaction. Boop, orange, boop, orange. Here it is. That idea becomes what you think it is, interlaced with the histories. But at the same frequency is the idea of more. That's what the quasi mind's trying to give to you. It's not, let's say, thinking about it. I'm trying to give you this, not that idea. It's offered. It doesn't care if you don't take it. But we give you that for understandings that it is there. It's accessible. That's the prism. That's what the quasi-mind is going to give you. Interpretations of fullness. If you feel the awareness of a now, that now starts to become more full of life, then you know you're not relying on interpretation of the past to justify the details in your now. You don't want to justify anything. You don't want to think about it. You don't want to care where you're at and how anything's going to change and what's going to get better or worse. Nothing is. This is the point you let creation be that idea, and you will understand the potential of your interaction as an awareness with all that is. The quasi-mind will get you there. It's your physical mind right now, truly. But you only deploy the dependencies of the physical mind. The physical mind has the ability to move things. You all have had tests of moving things, of changing results by thinking a particular way, by putting your focus on a result, on changing reality. Yes, no kidding. Those ideas are all real. That's the frequency of the wholeness of you. You're starting to understand your abilities, your godship, your self as part of creation. So the quasi-mind comes online. It's always been online, but we're going to give you that because you guys are more acceptable of it. Okay, so that mind starts to breathe information. Okay, kind of like about the nows, kind of like Sunny, kind of tuned in to a probable now. Oh, she perks up when she hears her name. Oh, it's me. We're playing, darling. So she understands from earlier in class, and we are watching class today, of course, earlier in class today, that her now interaction with her mother in the future, truly, and this is the possibility of it, and this is the attitude of gratitude mother has towards the idea of the dependency of the daughter, the relationship of the daughter, blah, blah, blah. So she's stretching her feelings, and the mind up here gets shocked. But this mind can't be shocked, or it never gets to be God. If you choose, what is that? Oh my God, all the time, then you get, oh my God, all the time. You have to stop being the little victim to what you want, Sonny. Unless you don't want it. If you don't want it, then go play live as you've been it. If you want it, then you have to accept that the truth of it is that new frequency that has, once again, a quality that is not empty. It's full. Like Janine. Janine idea. I'm going to talk to Janine because Janine is pretty. Hi, pretty Janine. Hi. So you have situations in your life, and they have not played out in the way that you thought. You still have pinnacle points of concerns about what? Job, position, office, money, all that stuff, right? Is that still playing out?
Yeah.
Okay, so those are concerns of the points in time. But of course, if you allow them, they present themselves in the easement of how it's going to play out. And it just happens to take care of itself. Just like this entire weekend took care of itself for everyone involved. Everyone got there, everyone found their loves, and everyone is exploring themselves in a whole new direction, in a whole new allowance. Awesome. This will be the same for you. However, I'd like to offer you this. You have connections to the now. Your quasi-mind is interpreting those nows already. It's not the fractal mind, because the fractal mind only interprets on what it knows, correct?
Yeah.
So you have the two minds. You move yourself into an operational field of the quasi-mind by allowance and reach your feelings into the idea of tomorrow. And it'll speak volumes to you by not trying to interpret it, by allowing it. The intention you have is not such an intention of grasping out of the idea desperation, but this is where the quality of the vibration dictates literally the results. So, if you're going in it and you're scared about your future and you want to know it, then of course your vibration is fucked and you're not going to get any kind of quality signals, because these signals is going to be dependent on what you call your memorandum of fractal limited selves, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
Okay. But if you want to know, because you have points of concern, and you're moving into the awareness that you are God, you're accepting that you are God, then therefore you can use some of the abilities of God, because the approach to the moment is not the vibratory state of lack, of desperation, of need, of want. And this should not be appetital in many nows, just a few nows. But if you really want to know your future, that's when you literally change it, because you want to know it from a vibrational standpoint of lack. That's the quality of life that you guys know now. You know when something's empty, you know when something's full. So Janine wants to know the points of concern on how the idea of the property is going to play out, and this and that and all that idea. So she can go and tune into that now, stretching her feelings with a peace of mind and letting the quasi-mind unfold. Save it, take 15 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour. Or you do it and you're like, okay, nothing now, let me go about my day. And then the thought comes, because it's here in the now. And this quasi-mind, I'll redraw it on the other side. How exciting. I'll post it and post it. This quasi-mind is always active in the now. And that means in the now, it is whatever you have already focused on. So it's already in the now and the future, isn't it, Janine?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So it knows the solution scenario of your concern, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that right there is you. But it cannot be gained through the idea of the physical mind thinking its way into the quasi-mind, because they are not at the same frequencies. They are separated minds. One's flowing one direction, the other is flowing another direction. Not literally, but just to see that it's not matched up. They're not in harmony. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So take one idea of concern, whatever that is in your mind, and know that that idea now, you stretch your feelings into that now, and you start to watch the scenario unfold. If it doesn't do it now, leave it alone. If it doesn't do it in 10 minutes, leave it alone. Just go into the mind and know that that is the now, and now that now and your now are connected. And now you let it come in the natural now. The now that you are allowing. Everything is about allowance. Everything is about access. You cannot access the unknown through the idea of intention, because intention in your land is gain, and gain is lack. Because you're not enough. You're trying to become better. All that shit. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
It's a wonderful, wonderful fine line. It is just the perfection of the mastery.
Mm-hmm.
To know exactly when to allow. So if you have such appetites to know your concerns, you will be picturesque with a perfect idea, vision, deployment of words, an overall feeling maybe, an easement, whatever about that. It's not going to play it out in the perfect video as life does in a day-to-day occurrence. It will give you the quasi-interpretation of that. And if you allow that interpretation to speak to you and not think what it should, could, ought to be, then you'll get the completion of the quality of that vibration interpretation from the quasi-mind to the conscious self. Make sense?
Yeah, that's exactly what I've been
Experiencing.
Yeah, and wanting to do more of. So thank you.
Well, yes, yes, it's coming to you. It's coming to you all. But if you approach it from a standpoint of a lackful God, you're getting nowhere because it doesn't run on limits. It runs on the unknown. Those are unknown power. The will of the now, the unconditional, unlimited self is that. But if you try to get because you are afraid, then you are using vibrations in that now that cannot match the frequency of the quasi mind giving you that. Then the interpretation becomes whatever you think it's going to be, and whatever the information of your experiential past is the way it can only present the solution. It can only give you the solution based upon what you have seen, heard, touched, smell, lick, stick, experienced as a fractal. And that, of course, is very limiting. Very, very, very limiting.
I don't know very much about the Bible or specifics, but I remember maybe I was a little girl and I was watching some movie and Jesus was in it. And he said something like, in order to come into the kingdom of heaven, you have to forget everything you know.
Yes.
So that's what this reminds me of. You have
Yes.
to be willing to forget everything you know and
Yes.
just.
And that was an interpretation of forgetting. But we all know forgetting is not needed.
Right.
You can't literally forget, because when you try to forget, you only remember because you live in a polarized field. But
Right.
the idea was perfect. You have
Yeah.
to, as Yoga said, the Magua, you have to unlearn what you have learned. The way you lived has been always separated. It's not bad. It's a pain in the ass. It's effort, but it's a pretty good life. And a lot of people suffer, compassion, blah, blah, blah. Then you know the game. But most in the class have lived a pretty decent life. Hey, great. But you're not here for a pretty decent life. You came for an idea. You got together and said, let's wake up. Let's see what happens. And you put yourself in, and here's the game. So you're living an idea of becoming ascended, wholeness once again, bringing the attributes of your natural state of awareness online, using, let's say, senses that you have long forgotten, intuitive self, which is time, your intuition about something, leading to the now of it, understanding the now of it. Yes, Nancy. Understanding the now of it, using the intuition to get to that, and allowing it to present itself. Everything is always presented. It's just been getting you guys to accept that it is enough, and whatever the now is enough. And once it's enough, it speaks volumes to you. Volumes about it. I know that, let's say, Rebecca and Grisa are wondering what the fuck is going on with their lives. You know, and Jennifer's like, these people are in my house. What's going to go on here? Yes. What's happening now? Well, you want to know, but you don't need to. Because right now you want to experience what it is to be God, to really have the miracles take place. So you know you can trust the unknown and not take any action. And the least action you take from a standpoint of a separated self, because you're lackful and you want to know, and you're scared, la-di-da-di-da-di, and you trust and all that sorts, then the natural thing becomes connected, because you're not being disconnected. You're not from the standpoint of a separated self keeping you illusionary disconnected. And so, of course, you are now realized more and more you are now connected already, always have been, always will be. And the things start to speak to you. And you start to, firstly, feel better, more confident, more at ease. Much like Nicole and Carl were here with Roxy earlier today. And Nicole said, you know, it's really phenomenal that I'm excited about the unknown. I don't know where I'm going to go. All I know is I met this guy a couple of days ago. His shit's in my car and we're going north. That's a trust, and she will see that that trusting vibration leads to realities that could not be experienced, from a point of view of this idea, human mind. That band of information that has a reliability source on what you call the past. So she takes a chance, and that idea, quasi mind, unfolds, and it gives her feelings, intuition, gives Carl connections, feelings, intuition, and they start to live off of their what? Their wits. They're now on the seat of their pants, on the edge of the seat, flying by their pants. I think that I messed that saying up. But anyways, you get the point. So the idea of Grisa and Rebecca are the same thing. All you have to do is just keep allowing, and it's going to tell you things. Because what you guys did this weekend was physically connect with unfiltered gods. You have some filters, but not in the masses that the humanity does. And you start to speak to each other vibrationally, and the quasi mind is interpreting and understanding and becoming more of the experiential self of creation, the multidimensional input, and you have all of that in the now, the now, and you focus on the now, and you don't rely on the mind of thinking to figure shit out. You just allow it to speak volumes to you, and it shows you, and it interprets automatically what it is with new reference points, new understanding, new angles, just a tiny little, I don't quite get it, I can't really explain it, but I know what I feel. That kind of self. That's the self you stay. You don't try to make it into something solid with edges that you're done understanding and putting away, because then you will become the lack and you'll be right back to the orange, and the orange that you know instead of the orange that you potentially could know. This kind of idea. So this is the action that you now are experiencing. The quasi-mind that's coming online. They've been preparing you this and speaking the volumes to you for a couple of months now, maybe more so than that. But the quasi-mind is always online. It's just you can't tune into it because you are relying once again on the self of taught and deploying the self of intention out of lack becomes the self of what you have been taught. That's no fun. It's not. It's not fun. It's effort. It's thinking. It's a resonation of accomplishment, achievement, and of course, putting out your hopes and your dreams of a safe and secure and happy future when right now you're choosing the pain. Everybody chooses the pain. You're naturally happy. But it takes some time. We know it takes you time to get to happy because you got to get rid of all those ideas, separated selves. That's not the idea. The quasi-mind is information. It's worlds, and you get that. To get to that, you guys done enough mastery work to get to the quasi-mind, to become the two minds becoming one. It's like the observer is the quasi-mind, and the observed, past tense, is what? A fractal mind. Simple. See you later, Sonny. Enjoy your nows. Dancing in heels.
Thank
Going
you so much.
going to heels dance. You go to heels dance.
Yeah. Thank you. I love you.
Love you too, darling.
Bye.
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 Bye,
Bye.
Cindy.
Did she say goodbye to you, Michael? Are you in love? Mm-hmm. Does it feel good? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, feels good.
Excellent. Good job, baby. Lots of love going on down there, huh? Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So, yes. Okay. Cool. Let's speak about vibration in a little bit more intimacy. Okay. Okay. So I would like to give you a scenario. When I think you have a little bit of taste of this already, which is good. So it's not such a thing for you to think about. Just don't think. Okay. Oh, colors, 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 colors. Roxy has colors. Colors, colors, colors. I like colors. It's one of Roxy's favorites. She's got a pretty good radio station in here. We got the funk. We gotta have some fun. We got the funk. Gotta have some fun. Okay, I'm going to show you what, in interpretation, using the engagement of space for clarity, densities. You've had a taste of this already. I needed more color. We don't need another. What's that? Oh, that's pretty. Okay. Densities. All pressed on top of each other. But there is no space in between. Understand that. Because there is no space. Space is created in the moment by the individual singularity for the experience of that elemental now to have space in it. But this helps you see something. Krishna. Mariato. Oh, okay, go. Okay, so first, second, third, fourth, density, 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 dimension, worlds, galaxies, all right here pressed on each other, and they all have significant frequency ranges. Okay, they have billions of frequency within the range of this idea, blue density and this purple density. Is that purple? Yeah. Here's a different green and another green. So they have different idea. Different, yes, very pretty. Different idea of themselves. See what happens when you come upon a now, you don't object to it. No one objects to the nows. Humanity does. But humanity's not objecting truly. It's experiencing itself being objective. You can't object really to reality is. You illusion yourself because your wholeness created it. Yes, of course. So those ideas of, let's say, this elemental blue density, let's call it third density in your idea world. It has vibrations in it, status quos in some way, repeated ideas, because it gives us experience in and of itself for all who join in. However, any and all who do join in to experience the frequency of that density adds flavor to it. So guess what's always changing? Your density. Your density is not the same density it was when Earth showed up through its idea of four of its ascension species, and including this one. It's not the same density. You don't have the same atmosphere. You don't have the same solar system ideas. You don't have the same time of the spinning of the Earth. Things always change. Always. So let's say a point A, logos, the sun, creates this universe. Creates this solar system. Thank you, Roxy. Okay? And it puts out a planet, and that's the idea. And then it puts out another planet. But the one planet, the first one, keeps going in its same speed and its safe referendum, and it's just itself on, it's as an idea. So that planet becomes, over 17 billion years, a longer idea, which changes the gravitational co-creation of that idea planetary system. See, even if it took 17 billion years, million years, 17 years, it's always changing at tiny, minute frequencies. So that means each now of each co-creation experience and every now within the frequency of that area, if you will, changes. It's never the same, ever. So your earth is changing. You are changing. Environments are changing. Everything is always changing. It just takes a long time to change. But if you are most certainly your age-worthy self, 7, 8, 900 years, you would definitely notice the difference of the sky. Because the sky is not as blue as it used to be. And it's not because of pollution. It's not because of the ozone. It's because of the algorithm of the co-creators. No shit. Yes, 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 yes. So the quasi-mind interprets what the reality says it is. It understands upon that now what it is and gives it to you. And you get to do the fuck what you want to do with it. You can object to it, which is a human standpoint, or you can become it, which is a God standpoint, and what? Pepper it your own way. Put your spin on it. Because you are, because it's coming in through you and birthing out of you, whether you are intentionalizing it or not. And therefore, it's a new now for all to behold, because you are new, grown, expansive, more. You guys haven't seen the day-to-day occurrences, but you've seen in memorandum of a year how much you've changed. Yes. But you're doing it daily, but those are just the tiniest minute things. But you know those changes through the frequency of your quasi wholeness. They're actually very noticeable because it's the consistency of the universe is change. And you know all changes because you know all nows. Quite simple. Excellent. So you bestow yourself upon the idea of the Sasquatch frequency. It harbors around a hertz a little bit above yours. You understand yourself in natural self. You are quasied, linked, quasied, we're going to say this means linked, to your density and versatility. You are very versatile, understanding, and connected to this density. What exists in this density? Billions of frequency. What exists within the frequencies? Universes, worlds, species, connections, relationship to reality. Simple. It's like you go through a doorway and there's a whole world. The doorway is a frequency. So you change your apparency frequency, not by changing it with intention. You allow yourself to become focused on the availability of the connections of all frequencies in your quasi state of being, your mind, if you would. And you tune in, and then it offers and it gives you, and you accept, and that shifts your awareness. Because your awareness is changing frequencies because you're accepting that viewship, your awareness of that now. You don't have to be stuck here, in other words, but it's going to start here. That acceptance of frequency expands vibrationally into here. And then, just as Tommy saw two fairies flying around in the idea of the house, you guys start to see, feel, and experience more and more so. More and more so. Sounds similar to what a Syrian dolphin told me once in a meditative trance back in 2015. Their homeward size changes. Yes, of course. Their homeward world size co-creation between planetoids and inhabitants moving in the world. Yes, absolutely. Things constantly change. So it's really fun. So anyways, the quasi-mind knows the now. Otherwise, if it doesn't understand that now, it never goes to that now. It is exactly what you are. The choice of you becomes the isness of that idea, interpretive quasi-mind. It's on its own. You don't need to do anything. So whenever you focus, you'll know. It's just whether you're listening. It's just wherever you deploy your dependencies. It's where you put your awareness. Do you focus on the idea of the past? Do you seek salvation? Do you want to know what it is? Or do you become the allowance and acceptor of awareness? Allow the now to understand yourself. And that breathes life into that field of allowance. And then all of a sudden, here come the frequencies, the knowledge, the interpretations, the now, the isness. And it becomes a broader field of awareness. And then your frequencies around you must change because you are allowing the change. Because you're the constant of it. We haven't heard from you in a very long time, Dana. How are you? I haven't never met you in that idea now, but Roxanne is speaking those ideas. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good
Good.
right now.
How's the park?
The park, I haven't been there for a few days. Walking on the river.
Ah, now down by the river.
Down by the river. Yeah. I'm good.
You're good.
I'm going through a lot, but I'm getting it inch by inch.
Yes, now by now, I would go.
Now by now.
This inch is measured. Now's is all.
Now by now.
Now by now. You good then?
I'm good.
Excellent.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. You're starting to see everything that you learn to unlearn is not going to be forgotten. It's going to be related to differently. It's still a frequency. It's still usable. It's still creation, but it's how you are being the relationship to it. When you become it, it speaks volumes. The orange becomes the universe. Truly. Instead of just the orange. Yes, 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 yes. Oh, good. That's good with that. Rinsey, rinsey. Colors. Colors. One to the next. Movement. The only reason why rainbows have bands of colors is because you have the inability to see between the colors. But of course, there's a vibration there, and it speaks volumes. And you'll know that as time moves on. So you're starting to understand frequencies are on top of each other. All worlds are compressed. You create the illusion of vibratory state of awareness called space. And then you give yourself the experience of space. And we have a lot of space. But the universe is contained in the idea of a frequency band. That's all. And that's nowhere. It's so your universe is here. It's all right here being interpreted for an experience. It's virtual reality. That's why you can walk around in a virtual world and the walls never go away. Or let's say the distance never go away, yet you stay within the walls. You'll never bump into a wall because it's a reality. Because why? You're not going anywhere. You're not actually walking. You're here and now. Still. Yes. That seems to be good. So, logistics of quasi-mind. You understand that your mind and the quasi-mind are the same minds. It is the massive amount of vibration of fact through the idea prism that you have always been accessed to, through the vibration of the prism of authoritative figures that constitute reality, whatever that may be. The truth that has been rewritten 100 times already. You guys had so many truths. When you really started to become smart, you were just throwing around knowledge like it was, remember pigeon toe, don't walk like this. So you had to get shoes, shit like that. The perfect posture, the way you're supposed to talk and carry yourself and talk in a conversational like this. Now all that was authority. And it gave a picturesque idea to become that. And of course, that's a limited standpoint. So those thwartings are the vibrations around you because you're human. So that's within the vibrational field that's always barking in the prism because it's creation and you are accessed to it, of course. So in other words, when an authority science speaks the idea on what the mind is, and you hear it internally, and then all of a sudden the quasi-mind is reinforced with the vibration, the fractal mind is reinforced with the vibration that the fractal mind is all of you. You're nothing beyond that. You're just matter. But see, no one can explain what created the matter. No one can explain personality. They try, but they cannot. The smaller they go, the larger they get. Scary for them. Oh, what a journey for them. So, you allow creation to be what it is. Then the mind by itself, the quasi-mind, the isness of you, seeks one thing only with no intention, but we give you this word so you know what's happening. Unknown. You guys always focus on the unknown. You get on your same spaceship, but you know now it's a new spaceship. You fly to the same galaxy you've been to 20 times, but you know it's a new galaxy. There's nothing experiential. It's not that you forget the past. You don't forget. You just see it with a new way. You see it in the new now. You know it's changing. You're not looking for it to be the same. Everyone down here wants to be the same. Why? Because it's safe. It's familiar. It's scary to be the cusp of the unknown, riding the surf, the edge, the breaking wave of creation all the time. Yes. And that's what the quasi-mind is starting to understand, that it brings in, you are understanding the quasi-mind is bringing in all that's available. And your focus on the allowability of the unknown will give you unknowns. But you have to accept them. You have to trust them. You have to be naked to them. And they'll speak volumes to you. Things you can't figure out. And then it becomes a way of life. Then it becomes intuitive. Then it becomes, I know this. And then you start to be a new state of awareness, a new isness. You know what people are going to say. You know what people are going to do. You know how this is going to play out. But you don't jump on board because you're an arrogant asshole and figure things out for people. No one cares. We want to experience the now unknown. But you're learning to stretch your feelings into the now and now know what you already have experienced. Boom. Oh, yes. That's a good one for you to chew on. Go ahead. Grisa, gang, Jennifer, Rebecca, crew.
I have a question about the vibration.
Sure.
So till now, I was more imagining vibration as a structure birthed in space. But now I see more that the vibration birthed the idea of space.
Yes. Excellent.
Okay, then vibration itself, does it made out of any substance, or what is it?
It can be made out of substance when you slow the vibration down to become light, and then it looks like substance. In other words, everything you see in your third density reality because you exist in a frequency of physicality. So that would be called substance. But outside the idea of physicality, it does not have substance. It is frequency, vibration that has nothing to it until you look at it and it becomes the quasi interpretation and you get to interpret it how you will. But don't look on where it's coming from. Is that what you want to know?
No, more the structure of it, or
There is no structure. You got to understand there's no solid idea because solid structure is limiting. The structure of it is because it's unknown, being brought into the known, and it is the vibration is the best way you can understand. I can give you another word. Now this will be more difficult for you to understand vibration. Nothing. So you take nothingness into something. Vibration is for you to understand this is the way you interpret frequency. You are hearing me right now because you are interpreting through your physical senses a frequency band. Frequency vibrates, hence vibration. That's the structure of it. But you can't look for it in a structural manner because that's, of course, limiting. It's never going to be that. It is nothingness coming into something because you are aware of it.
yeah, I think nothingness speaks to me better.
Well, then use nothingness.
Cool. Thank you.
Make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Perfect. We'd like that. Go ahead, Tom. You're unmuted, darling.
Okay, along the same lines. When you say frequency, I see waves, and
Perfect.
waves imply a field, and a field implies space.
Here,
Okay,
here.
so,
Wait. I'm going to give you something because you just showed me this in your mind. Don't go nowhere. Four points of existence with waves in between them give you a field of space. That's where you are right now. Go ahead.
okay, but before the idea of space, you've got the wave, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
doesn't the wave propagate within a field?
The wave propagates from the unknown. It's nothingness, and then what it is you become aware of the nothingness, and it is interpreted as frequency. You change it into a vibration. How about that?
I'm getting that it's just an idea.
Oh, of course it's an idea. Yes, but we're slowing it down so you guys can fathom it, have substance around it. But it is nothingness. Nothingness bursts ideology. Ideology is no edges, no space. It is the thought behind the thought. And even giving the word idea has to have a thought of it. But it's not. It's behind that. You don't have the words yet. But that works. Vibration is a thought. You want to use that? Use that, just like he wants to use nothingness. But the reason why we give you this idea, vibration, is because you're living in a vibratory state. This whole thing is the way you relate to it. If you are vibrating in discourse with your reality through an interpretation of objectivity, I object to my world, then your resonation against your natural self becomes pain. As a result, that's the vibration to see you are relating to the reality in friction of two vibrations that are no longer harmonious. Your sandpaper, static. Make sense?
Totally.
That's the vibration that you are. When you become in harmony, you will interpret what vibration is in your own way. But it's always there for the experience of interpretation, awareness, because you can't be aware of nothing. It has to have something to give you and you receive. So that's the known, what you call the, let's say, the line between the unknown and the known. Make sense?
Yes, it does.
You're
So-
riding
so-
on that cusp. What's that?
I in very simplistic terms, I picture the vibration. Everybody knows what a tuning fork is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So if you walk into a room and shut the door and it's filled with all different types of notes or pitches or tones, and I've got a C, and I ring that C,
Right.
it's going to resonate all the other C's and nothing else. Is that the idea that you're talking about, that we propagate our tone throughout the universe? Is that idea close?
So when a C is toned in an idea of a density, we'll keep it at that, it tones the other C's.
Correct.
Yes. However, it is also accessible by the non-C's to interpret it its own way.
Okay, then. No, that's good.
Yes, that's
A little bit further. Let's say that C is an orange. Okay, the C is the perfect orange in its fullness.
Yes.
Okay. Us, whether you call it filters or lackful thought, we are actually expressing a destructive interference of that C wave, and now we can't perceive the orange in its fullness because we are projecting a destructive interference with that C orange.
I don't think you're projecting. I think you are intending it because it's birthing out to be the intentional of the interpretation of what lies in front of you. But to become what you call the allowance of it, then you would no longer be destructive to it. It is allowed to speak its fullness beyond the orange. How about that?
Good. Oh, good. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. This is very good tonight.
Oh,
I
yes.
liked it.
Oh, yeah. I write this shit. I'm good. Yes. Janine, you had something?
I don't know. I'm just, I don't know that much about it, but I remember reading in Tom Kenyon's work was talking about where the quantum field interplays with the Newtonian field. And actually we were talking about that at dinner the other night. Is this the same idea, how you have?
I would say that frequency that Tom was expressing was in the field of the third density. There were two known vibrations that exist in the third density as that. This is the idea of the whole.
Like beyond it.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. So there's what he was describing, and then this even goes like one step beyond that.
Yes, we're giving you in the idea of the seeking of Grisa, the fundamentals of it.
Yeah.
Because it's very simple. We are not complicated. We don't do things hard. We are here, and this is. And when you think, it has to be a hard. When you allow, it presents. Right? So you knew it was more than, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
You didn't need to know how it's more than. It just is.
Right.
And then that acceptance allows the hows to be known to you through the idea of natural self, because you're now on that frequency, allowing it, and it comes in and interprets in its own idea, because the quasi-mind is allowed to be the quasi-mind.
Yeah.
Not the definitive reliability of the past.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Good?
Yeah.
Yes, excellent. Jennifer.
But so how do you relate?
I relate in allowance.
Okay, so you don't use vibration.
I am vibration. I don't use it with intention. I am it. In other words, I'm giving you vibration back. Aren't I?
Do you communicate amongst your non-physical in vibration or just with humans in vibration?
Oh, everything is vibration. Everything beyond the idea of idea. As soon as it comes out of the unknowable, it's interpreted in one way or in the other, a state of being called vibration. Because the stillness of the now bursts creation. But stillness becomes movement, and understand frequency, what you call resistance, to get an experience through an awareness.
So vibration is limited
No. How can vibration be limited?
because you're giving it a term. You're saying it's doing a certain thing in the unknown. If it's birthed out of the unknown and into the known,
Yes?
that makes it limited.
No. That's your interpretation. But it is most certainly not limited. It's how you experience limited.
So I experience my vibration in as a limitation.
If you choose it to be. But vibration is not limited. Your interpretation of the word vibration has now become limited because you say it's limited. Then yes, that's your way to interpret the vibration of my teachings. I'm vibratory, giving you a field of knowledge. You interpret it through the tone frequencies, through your interpretative mind, your thinking mind, and you give it a picturesque idea, and you have deemed vibration as limited. But it's not. It's the movement between the idea of all co-creation. Because how do you know something's there?
Well, you know it. Yeah, we know it as.
See it.
Yeah, we have to
You
see
have
it.
to become upon it. It has to have a frequency. This is a frequency. It's vibrating.
But
It is.
that as a frequency became that, which makes it a limited thing.
No, it makes it this thing. You are limited. It's not limited. It speaks more. I speak to the plastic, to the color of the plastic, to the ink writing on it, to the pills itself, to the plastic idea. I know where the plastic came from. I know the lives of the plastic molecule that makes up there. I was there during the molding of the plastic being heated. I know everything about this beyond what you see it as. Because this is creation. This is the here and the now. And everything within this idea, the smallest particle information, is all that is. You just have to go into it. So vibration is connection.
So if I go into that bottle,
And allow it,
right, and allow
with
it.
no thinking mind like you're thinking now.
No, I'm not thinking. No, I'm really not thinking. It's
Okay.
so I go into it, and it shows me things that are beyond what I know of it, looking at it with the vibration that I'm sitting in at that point.
Yes.
Okay. And so in order to go into it and allow it, when I allow to go into it, right, when I allow to go into it, let's say this thing or whatever you were holding, then more vibration will show itself to me.
Of course.
Okay.
Yes.
So the only limitation is for me looking at it from a perspective of whatever I'm vibrating right now.
Whatever you constitute as a truth. So that's what we're doing, not this one, the other one, Rox. This one. This vibrational field of third density leaves the Andromeda and leads to the portal. They're all connected vibrations. They all are bound to each other, bonded to each other, because there's no space between anything. It's all one big fucking vibration interpreted by each individual awareness of its own understanding of itself, using the quasi-mind to continue to interpret its idea of itself in the moment, the now that it's focused on. And that now is vibration. It has to shift in order to be perceived. Vibration. So yeah, it becomes more than what it is. But like I said, if you use the constitution of your thinking mind, that arc that you keep repeating between the two idea posts of your idea, which are connected to your memory, that idea is also the wholeness. It's the way that you choose to see it. If it's hard, then you're choosing to try to figure it out. If it's allowability, let it speak to you in its natural timing, whether that's today, next week, or next year. Doesn't matter. Let things come to you now. Because right now, the only thing you can do right now is literally slow yourselves down. That's how fast you're going right now. You have to put on the brakes, and your brake is thinking. because that takes the frequency of the known and rubs it against the unknown. And you're very, very well versed in the known. So it has more vibration, vitality, more frequency, trustability to vibrate the known against the unknown, and you have that standpoint of separation. It doesn't have to be in all aspects, in just certain portions of it, because some frequencies you have no problems with, so you're open to it, so it speaks to you. That's why your miracles happen. That's why the idea of Carl decided to go down and book another day, and all of a sudden they gave him the room for $80 instead of the $139 because it was Monday. So everyone goes, holy shit, let's go and do the same for ourselves. Opportunity. They didn't think about it. They didn't try it. A frequency was offered, and everyone goes and gets the next night they got for $80. So they got refunded the money. That's how it worked. It's opportunities of frequencies that tell you more. And then if one chooses to speak a joy, and look what this experience is, because the only way you guys are picking it up most of the time is has to be spoken, has to be taught, has to be experienced, and it's becoming more and more trusting, of course, in the field of intuition, allowance, speaking and trusting the mind that tells you, hey, go over here and get a discount, that kind of thing. But you got it that way, and therefore the reality offered itself, that vibration of allowability. Make sense?
Yeah. And
Miracles.
I mean, so it's just allowing to see things that we're not used to seeing right now, and that pretty much our minds are catching up to. It's not.
Yes. You've got 100% give up on Jennifer, because Jennifer can't do this. Jennifer wants to do this, but Jennifer can't do this. But Jennifer can do the life she is. There's nothing wrong with that life either. It's just not the life that you have the choice of living now. It doesn't matter which one you choose. You can be Jennifer the ouch, or Jennifer the, okay, I gotta fucking stop. And just allow it, and just keep trusting and keep trucking, and stop crying or bitching or screaming or hollering at creation. Just keep going and going and going and going. And then you'll notice everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything that you've ever worried about hasn't happened, because everyone is alive. No one is dead. No one is starving. No one is homeless. No one is blah, 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 blah. All of the fears of that. All of the fears of that. That's the vibration of the quasi mind being depleted down to the idea of the physical mind, and using the attributes of memorandum through taught fear belief systems on equating possibilities of futures that never play out, because they're illusional. They're illusion. Fear is illusion. Only the thing that's real is danger.
Okay.
That kind of idea. So you're seeing, if you stop, you have to give yourself a long time, at least 3, 4, 5 solid days of not doing anything, with the deployment of that resonation. You know that resonation very well. Everybody does. Everyone knows the self of separation. It's a painful self. You stop doing that to the best of your ability, more and more and more, for a period of time, and then you see what you've been missing, what the quasi-mind is offering you all the time, the connections of the now. And as you allow yourself to become that you already are, it starts to interpret in different ways. Therefore, you know the orange is the universe instead of just the orange. The orange is connection to the now. The now is all vibrations. It's everything. But of course, you don't know all now. You know all now. Whatever now you focus on. And that now is forever. Make sense?
Yeah. Thanks.
Better. Good. Questions? Anybody? Oh, we want any questions? No? Oh, well. Depression sets in. Kidding. Okay, well, I think that's all we wanted to speak about, to understand and refresh. This is the simplicity of the quasi-mind. It has access to all quantums. quantum fields of operation. They're all a honed in frequency. They have an algorithm to them that's in the constant flow of the now, of everyone being a part of that algorithm, changing it to its new self. Therefore, change is the only constant. Don't constitute yourself as the limited idea, but the expansive idea of this. The limiting idea is trying to figuring out and only knowing itself from the known and deploying that as action of nows. Don't do it. Allow the nows to present what can come through this gate. This gate is access to all that is. And it will interpret to the conscious mind your idea of yourself. And as you, the more you allow, the faster it gets, the more it becomes. But the shock factor to some will be shocking. Therefore, if it's shocking, its frequency toned down to the separated idea point of view, and therefore it will not speak volumes. It'll speak a volume, whatever that volume is that you allow it to come through as, because you're shocked that you know whatever it is. And then, of course, your approach to it has to be that of meek, if you would, that of allowance, that of awesomeness. And you just start to know things. And then you start to become the now. Yes, Nancy, you know that. Excellent. All right, that's all we have. Unless there's anything else, we will depart and bring back Foxy Roxanne. Good. All right, we bid you a good day. Thank you all for joining. I love you.